Hello, hello,
Hello,
hello,
hello.
hello. Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Good evening.
Hi, Harneet. Hi, Lauren.
Hey,
Good
Hi,
Sean. Hi,
nice to
morning.
be
Lauren.
here.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night.
Yeah, all of them.
Nice. So, thanks for joining us, Lauren.
My pleasure.
Before we start, just to mention, like we've been doing these streams for quite a while, more than a year, if I'm not wrong. So, but Lauren is the first lady guest on our show. So,
Woo!
so glad to have her, and I think this is a start. We will get more, female presence on our show as well. So, yeah, thank you, Lauren, on that front as well.
Thank you. Glad to
Really
be
excited
here.
to
And
have you, Lauren.
this might be your first dog guest too.
Yeah,
Oh, look who's at that.
the first dog
Yeah.
as well. Yep.
Let me put him down. Well, should
Nice.
I go ahead and introduce myself or?
Yes. So, Lauren, we'll start with you. Then we'll go down
Okay.
to knowledge. Yeah.
Sounds good. Hey, everybody. My name is Lauren McManamon. I am one of the senior developer advocates at ServiceNow. So I work on the same team as Pranav Bhagat and Earl UK and Chuck Tomasi, who I see is in the audience, which is really exciting. I joined ServiceNow at a company level almost 7 years ago, which is crazy to think about. I joined as a solution consultant though. So prior to this job, I worked as like the technical side of our sales team and helped people kind of visualize their goals at a creator workflows level and then decide which products they needed to suit those goals. So did that for about 5 years, transfer onto this team a couple years ago, and that's about it. I live in Dallas, Texas, and I like photography and scuba diving and all those types of things.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. Over to you, Haneet. And is anyone else getting an echo? I think Chuck is pointing out there's an echo or something.
Not on my side.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyways.
Okay. Thanks, Ishan. And thanks, Lauren, for being here. About me, I'm Harneet. I've got overall 8 years of experience being on the platform. I think I started back in the Helsinki, so I'm quite old. I'm a certified technical architect. I'm currently working with Accenture. I've been 2 times MVP, and I've also spoken at Knowledge twice. So yeah, that's me. Over to you, Ishan.
Nice. Thank you, Anit. So, yeah, myself, Ishan. I'm a certified technical architect as well, and three times ServiceNow MVP. And couldn't get any knowledge this time around, but hopefully I'll be there next year. And yeah, just love the way it's going with ServiceNow. Just enjoying it every day. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. So, knowledge. So, Lauren and
Yeah.
Haneet, you guys had have a lot of fun over there. I was following all of it on LinkedIn, every post that I could see, and it was giving me just a lot of FOMO. So yeah.
Oh, that's the worst, I bet. Because I used to go to sales kickoff because I was on the sales team, and so
Yeah.
now that I don't go to anymore, and I see all
Oh
the posts about it. I'm like, oh man, this sucks. So,
yeah. So
I think
hmm,
sorry, knowledge was a bit bigger for us, right? With the MVP dinner in, it actually spans around 4 days rather than 3 days for most of the people. So yeah, there's additional memories from the MVP dinner.
yeah.
yeah, that was really special. Because I joined the developer advocacy team the year they started doing the MVP dinner. So I just assumed they've been doing it for like ever since the thing was formed because they do it so well. Like Selena and Sarah and Tanvi did like such a phenomenal job. I'm like, oh, they've been doing this for like 5+ years. So like, this is our second one. I was like, this is the second one. Is that it? Really? This is amazing. They had it at Tao this year, right? That the restaurant Tao,
Yeah, it was
I
good.
think that's what
I
it's
mean, the food
called.
was good. Yeah, I always carry this. I've started putting this miniature fig figure of me. Now it's always on my desk. I
Yeah.
really love it. It's just, I always wear a blue suit, so it's got a blue suit on. It's got a nice little turban. So yeah, I started keeping on my desk. Just reminds me of the interesting time that we had on the MVP dinner.
Nice. I hope I do get it as well with the package that comes along later this year
I
maybe.
think
Yeah, it should be.
yes, I
Yeah.
believe so.
Otherwise, another FOMO. No,
No,
no.
I believe I keep wait a couple I think days or weeks, but I think it's on its way from what I understand.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So yeah, knowledge, right? a lot of Gen AI now says the Creator Studio and a lot coming up, Lauren. So,
Mhm.
do you like to talk about your experience of what knowledge was this year? And
Yeah. So knowledge this year was, I mean, every year it's different, right? Every year we assume it's going to be more people. So far, that assumption has been correct. Every year we assume that we will be given a different set of parameters for what the CreatorCon experience will look like on the expo floor, right? I think, back when CreatorCon started, it wasn't even on the expo floor. It was like segregated into like its own spot. But every year, because people are so passionate about it, because people talk about it so nicely on social media, on their surveys and things like that, it keeps earning a bigger slice of the pie, which is really exciting. But also, the more widely known it gets, the more eyeballs there are on it too, to make sure it's successful, which makes sense. So this year internally, I felt like everyone, more so than in the years past, everyone was waiting and seeing and double checking and triple checking what the CreatorCon team was doing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like they're really treating it seriously this year. So that was a huge confidence booster of like, CreatorCon isn't just this thing that we were tacking onto the conference. It is part of knowledge. So that was really cool to feel part of this year, especially. But yeah, lots of AI stuff. Harneet, how was your experience with like, I bet by day 4, people were slightly tired of hearing the word AI, but every year there's a word like that. It's platform, or it's, Advocate Studio. Like every year there's one word they're like, I get it. And like, it's we get it. That's what y'all are targeting this year.
So for me, I think I've started noting down a lot of things, and I think AI is definitely not top one on my list though, because I personally feel for the developers. So I think a lot of people facing those problems, I think they're getting sorted with Xanadu. Again, I'll start with the favorite one, flow as a code. I've personally
Yeah.
worked on custom applications, and we've built flows in it. And obviously, when we're migrating the applications, you cannot merge the flows because obviously they are XMLs, and you cannot merge XMLs because they don't act as a code. So for me, the personal favorite one was now flows acting as code. But then, yeah, all the things around Creator Studio. Obviously, it doesn't impact me, but the new database, obviously, the performance that comes with the new database that ServiceNow is doing as a change in the backend. Text to app, I think that was one of the AI ones, though. Yeah, I actually uh, saw this on Nia's blog. Nia, again, she's an MVP, Nia, and she actually mentioned that yeah, there is an option now to automate the migration of updates as well, just like the applications. So just like we do with app repo now, there'll be an option to migrate updates as well, because there are a lot of people, I guess, they still are comfortable and still use updates. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that as well. So
yeah, I
that's
think
on my
that's
list.
coming out in Xanadu. Like I had a thread going on the Slack channel earlier, a couple of days back.
Supposedly, it's
Yeah,
supposedly coming
safe
out,
harbor.
Xanadu.
Yes, supposedly.
Safe
Yeah.
harbor.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Xanadu.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, so that was a huge focal point of knowledge, was obviously AI. Another thing that Harneet and I are both trying to rep is the debut of like the developer brand theme. So behind this, I really want to clarify and give like a huge shout out to Chuck and his vision for this, because this is something that he and other people have been working on for like 5 years, I would say, is like trying to construct a independent theme for CreatorCon within knowledge. Like for years they've like, we used to have stuff when it was in the other room, right? But now that people care about it, they're like, no, it has to look exactly like everything else, and like no fun allowed. I'm kidding. But this year they're like, okay, we'll let you try to add in some like themed elements. So you saw like those big cubes, you saw like a more like glitchy theme to stuff. They use a lot more of like our secondary color palette. And I think it looked fantastic. It was very eye-catching this year. It made it really feel more like a developer event too, from an aesthetic perspective. So I was very happy to see that successfully move forward as well.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with celebrating 10 years of CreatorCon. So this is the 10th year, a decade of CreatorCon being celebrated. I guess the ServiceNow developers community being celebrated. So it comes at the right time.
Isn't that wild that it's been here? I'm still stunned that I went to 9 of them. I'm so mad. I'm like, oh my, I can almost say I went to all 10, but I missed the first one.
Yeah, so I think a very common question then comes along, to a lot of people like who are coming to knowledge is like, do we have to purchase a separate ticket or a pass for CreatorCon? And so we don't have to just for the people who are watching us if they are still not aware, but we don't have to do that. It's a part of knowledge. It's inside knowledge. So you just once you get a knowledge registered yourself registered for knowledge, you should be all good. Yeah. So but yeah, it's a different experience, and that area, the sessions that are happening or are developer focused interesting items. I think there was one of the folks I remember, Kevin. He's based out in Melbourne, Australia as well. He was there. He made up game a Pokemon game, card game, and I think he had cards for all the folks up there, a deck of cards for
Yeah,
yeah.
it was so cool. That was like
Yeah.
so. He gave it to us when we did like a developer advocate photo op this year, which I,
Yeah.
I will be honest with you, I was terrified to do. I'm like, no one's going to come. No one's going to come, and we're going to be standing here for an hour. It's going to be really humbling, but lots of people came, which was nice. And he gave us our individual cards in line. I was like, oh, that was a big
Yeah.
treat. That was really very cool. Also, just to kind of clarify, you mentioned like CreatorCon, like just to kind of define, like you said, like for people that might not know what CreatorCon is, it's kind of two things, right? The first is that it's a experience on the expo floor. So in the main expo area of ServiceNow, usually in the middle or towards the back, there is the CreatorCon area. And there you'll find really creative, innovative applications of ServiceNow, usually leveraging a hardware component as well. So for example, an automated coffee bot utilizing
Yeah.
ServiceNow, or the Lego sorter, or the laser engraver, all harnessing the power of ServiceNow to run them. They kind of really demonstrate the breadth in which this technology can go. CreatorCon is also used as a tag for content to indicate it is for developers. So a lot of content at Knowledge is aimed for like not necessarily management, but the business side of the house. So, like if you use ITSM, here's how to achieve this goal. If you use CSM, here's how you achieve this goal. However, for the builders in the room, it's more like here's how to learn how to use this. Those are always tagged as CreatorCon
Mm.
labs or CreatorCon breakout sessions. And they don't necessarily have to be tutorials, but they're definitely aimed at making developers better developers, not necessarily how to make your business more money, essentially using ServiceNow or something like that, or saving time, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, also, yeah, I mean, the interesting things like some like we cannot even think of people are doing, you get to know, and that also gives you oh yeah, maybe I can also do it in my instance. I mean, one point in
Yeah.
time. So that's the plus as well. Nice. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, while we're talking about the CreatorCon, so let's
Mhm.
also talk about the CreatorCon keynote, Lauren. I saw your photo again. So you're talking about the FOMO with that big, square or rectangle box. I'm not sure
Oh,
about.
the one where like holding it. Yeah,
Yeah,
those are just cardboard, so it wasn't that impressive. They were more awkward than heavy, but I felt so awkward. I was like, that was the night we were rehearsing. So, fun fact: if you ever get roped into doing a keynote for ServiceNow, it's kind of a large commitment, even if you are just doing a segment of it. So, for
yeah,
example, there was a couple of MVPs that we had this year. I huge shout out to them because they did like a tremendous amount of work leading up to the conference. We had several meetings about expectations, practicing the panel type of questions, right? We didn't want anyone to feel blindsided. If they wanted notes, we could practice through the notes, doing it all for time. And then at the event, too, there are multiple rehearsals. I think Chuck and I we were doing at least 2 rehearsals per day on top of the other stuff we were doing at the conference. So that picture of me like holding the giant block, I think it's from the last stage rehearsal where it was late and I was like, I need something to post on LinkedIn for tomorrow. And I was like, can I just pick one of these up? And the stagehands were like, yeah, I guess. Like, just don't break it. It's like, okay. So it's fun.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, talking about the keynote. I mean, what goes around, it's always great. But any key takeaways? Again, Harneet, you can also fill in, Lauren, from the CreatorCon keynote for
Well, I
us.
think that this year, especially compared to last year, right? Obviously, the keynote's not going to talk about what's out right now. It's going to
Mm,
talk what's coming in the next calendar
yes.
year. So Xanadu and Yokohama. And I feel like those two releases in particular, very lucky for us, are very developer focused. So there's always these like bursts of time where ServiceNow creates and consolidates for products, right? You pour in a lot of money and energy into creating tools to sustain a need, and then you consolidate them and make them more organized. And I feel like we're right in the middle of that right now, which is very exciting, right? You see these new studios coming out, like Creator Studio and the new ServiceNow. Could we stop saying studio? Probably not. But but then you see them consolidating, right, again into different areas. So there was a lot to talk about in that regard, which was very cool. And I think that one point that ServiceNow is getting better at listening to is when we create new technology, building in systems to transition people to them. That's something historically, as a former customer, I'll say we've not been the best at, but we are, I think, getting better at. So for example, you saw this with the new platform analytics. There is now, when that debuted, there was a built-in means to convert your old reports to the new platform analytics. Great. Now do that for everything else new that that we make. But that's as the result of customer feedback. So seeing those things, or seeing in like the newer studio that Samir and Jithin and Christy were presenting about, how it included update sets. He's like, yeah, pipelines are awesome, but not everyone uses pipelines. Some people, they like update sets. So just build something in to help that huge customer base. That's still, just because it's a newer technology doesn't mean the older one shouldn't also receive the attention, especially if people still are really, really, really utilizing it.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see.
Yeah, I think still more than 90% people are still utilizing update sets, even though there are pipelines or so like
Yep.
a funny, stat over there.
I think I
Yeah.
read the
Harneet,
stats.
what
It
was
was
your
about
favorite?
85%. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I read the stats. Sorry, it was about 85% of the people still use update sets. So, investing to automate them, I think that was a really good decision. Even though ServiceNow
Yes.
strategy is going more towards custom applications and automating them via pipelines, but then, yeah, some people, I mean, getting out of that update sets is really hard.
Yeah. If it
For
ain't
me, I
broke,
think a
don't
couple
fix
of things that
it.
Nice.
So a couple of things that's really standed out for me. Again, I'm just reading out from my notes because I had a lot of them. First one was the catalog item generation. I think now that can be done with Now Assist. So you actually start typing in what you want your catalog item to do, specific attributes that needs to be created with specific policies that needs to be applied to it. So that was definitely a really good one, at least for the developers and for the people, for the low code no code sort of developers who tend to create these catalog items by themselves. And the other one, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Lauren, but the second one was the automated playbook generation. So I think that was a demo where there was a person on the stage who clicked a photo of an actual flow that they'd created on a whiteboard, and it actually got converted into a playbook. So again,
Yeah.
those two things were really a good key takeaways for me, at least from that keynote. Yeah, I mean,
All
like there
the
was so much stuff. I mean, yeah, out of words, honestly.
Yeah. Harneet, you're already, I can see you started creating articles. So thanks for that.
Yeah, it's we're just right now planning out like our
Yeah.
content calendar for Xanadu. And every year we say like, okay, we're gonna like do less but focus like really deeply on those topics, like the limited topics more. And every year the same thing happens. Too much cool stuff comes out and we end up like committing to like so many articles and stuff. We're like, dang it, there's too much cool stuff coming out. Oh, the developer sandboxes. Oh, thank you for saying that. That was a very cool thing. So fun fact. This is some behind the scenes stuff about keynotes. So obviously there is a keynote every single day, or actually there's more than one, but there are the big ones, right? On the big main stage, there's one every morning. There's Bill's, there's CJ's, there's Nick's, and then there's ours. And so we're last. So we always want to reveal something. We want to give you a reason for coming to our keynote so badly. But the other guys like to steal what we want to talk about. So, and rightfully so, they're exciting things. They should be talking about them. But we're like, dang it, we really want to pick something that Bill or CJ or Nick won't debut, right? They might talk about it like lightly, but I'm like, we want to be the ones that like bring the party to it. And like for weeks, we're like, developer sandbox is things like the really perfect thing to reveal to this audience. And it didn't seem that wide enough for Bill or Nick or CJ to talk about it in there. So for weeks, Chuck and I are just like white knuckling. I'm like, please don't let them steal our thunder. Please don't let them. Because they also, because our keynote leverages a lot more people from a lot more departments. So we have to lock in our script and our program much earlier than they do. They change their stuff all the time. And so last year, I remember especially, like, we locked it in and we're like, oh, awesome. And then there was something big that we thought we were debuting, and then CJ covered it. We're like, dang it, man. I mean, good for him, but dang. So sandboxes, I will always think very fondly of because we got to announce it.
Nice. So, Lauren, like, again, talking about all this, I mean, like I have presented at Knowledge a couple of times, and
Yeah.
I have like that. Those are like just the normal like breakout sessions for like, let's say, 20 minutes or 30 minutes, right? And that also requires a bit of work to do. So from
Yeah.
so yeah, I think you're getting me where I'm going to. So as a as the developers advocacy or a community team, when you have to
Mhm.
take on a lot of sessions, speak at the keynote, what goes behind the fit behind all this, I mean, uh, in the background for the
So
DevOps advocates to prepare for the complete event as a whole. So
it's tricky. I think the key to it is starting it early. So we start planning. So for most of our projects on the advocacy team, especially these big ones, right? We pick like basically a captain. So someone that, even if they're not doing the majority of the presenting, they kind of own the project and make sure everyone stays on point.
okay,
So like,
right.
for example, we've alternated who has been captain for Tech Now. Like first it was Chuck, then it was Earl, then it was me. And so similarly for this project, I would argue that like Chuck really played that role this year. So I would say probably back in December, he started reaching out to all of the leads of product initially and be like, hey, what do you think is a possibility for what would be coming out in Xanadu and Yokohama? Like, especially back in December, that's very hard to do.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they just came out with Washington, right? And so, or not Washington, they just came out with, Washington wasn't even out.
Yeah. Washington
Right?
came out this year, right? So yeah,
Yes.
those,
So
Vancouver,
yeah.
Washington
probably.
wasn't even out. And we're like, what's in Xanadu and Yokohama? Luckily, there is a plan. Luckily, there is like a agile backlog of things that they are slotted for that time period. But, that changes. And so based off of those hypotheticals, we start preparing first our team, right? Who is doing what? I mean, initially, it was like, oh, like, does Chuck just want to present it? Does Lauren want to present it? Last year, we didn't. I mean, basically, Chuck and either Chuck or I was on stage the entire time this show. Last year was not like that. We did the intro, we did the outro, and then that was pretty much, aside from the panel, that was it. But this year, our role was much more expanded. So that was a new idea based off of feedback that we had from last year. So like integrating feedback also from the previous year is like done in that December time. And then I would say starting, so in January, February, March, we pretty much had like a monthly meeting of like, how does this currently look? Who's currently involved, right? Are we bringing in these product people to like, who is going to be the presenters? Who is going to be who's going to be creating the graphics and like the Figmas and things like that? And then pretty much by the release of that first release of the year, that's when we can really pivot and start focusing on knowledge. Because getting to that like Washington release in March, I'm like, it makes it very difficult to focus on both at the same time. But once it's out, it's out. So then we go like, all right, full steam ahead on knowledge. And that's when we've pivoted to start doing like weekly meetings about it, practicing, seeing what it looked like, seeing what the other teams were doing for their keynote, so we weren't overlapping too much. Then about a month ahead, we start practicing. So by like a month ahead, we have the program scripted kind of, and then start practicing digitally. This year and last year, at one point, we all flew out to San Diego to do an on-site rehearsal there too, just so we could practice like coming on and leaving, and double checking with the events team of how the stage will be. Because that's the other thing too, is like we are building a program, but then there's a whole other side of ServiceNow that's running the event, and they do a phenomenal job. So we had a point of contact, Montana, that handled everything for the CreatorCon keynote, and I think the other keynotes as well. And she did just like a phenomenal job. She told us exactly like, here's exactly when the rehearsals are. This is what you have to wear. Here is the type of microphone you'll be wearing. Here is how like the earrings you can't wear because they'll hit the microphone. Like she was fantastic. So working with her made the process like very, very, very simple.
Nice. That sounds a bit overwhelming to,
yeah.
Like,
it is, but it's fun though. It's very fun, especially when you see it coming together. I think initially when you don't have a script and you don't have even visuals, I think it's very daunting of what it'll look like in the end. But once you have the script, you're like, okay, like I can see where this is going. The really scary question though that they asked us this year, that they didn't ask us last year, is, well, who's your understudy? And Chuck and I were like, what are you talking about? They're like, well, if you get hit by a bus, who fills in for you? We're like, we've never thought of that before. I hope neither of us ever get hit by a bus.
We're not leaving the Venetian, right?
No, I think the answer was our boss, Mark Ovi. So because he'd been at every meeting, so we're like, well, you know the script the best. He's like, okay, like like thanks. So it was very fun.
And I think, Ishan, as you mentioned, right, it's just so much, not so much, but yeah, I think there are some similarities with what we do when we are about to present knowledge as well. Even though ours is a very shorter one, but again, call for content, I think those starts way back in November. So that's when you actually start preparing for your own sessions. You start creating an abstract, and then obviously there's a whole timeline around submitting it, preparing for it, I guess, doing more and more, what do you call it, like rehearsals, and then go on the stage and then present it. But again, as I said, it's not even as close to what you mentioned, Lauren. But thanks for sharing your insights.
It's still pretty hard. It's still pretty hard though. Even with a session that's 20 minutes, you're doing tons and tons and tons of practice and work on it. Like I think that's something that comes out when we do the office hours, and it shows how hard everyone works on preparing for that content. So it's a good inspiration. In fact, when we would be having like really hard weeks on the keynote where someone would cancel on us or whatever, we were like, oh man, like you just get down the dumps. But then we go to like the office hours and we'd see like how hard everyone was working on everything. And we're like, oh, everyone else is working hard. Like, who cares? Like, we'll make this work. So it was the community is always a huge source of inspiration for me on that type of stuff.
Nice. Even Chuck is there, so he's like most produced production I've ever done. So.
Oh yeah, it was a whole new level this year, even compared to last year, and I think that was because of how well received last year's was. Like, again, I think people noticed last year that like CreatorCon was a bigger thing at a corporate level, right? I don't think before they paid attention to it maybe as much as the larger conference. But I think last year they're like, oh, this is a big thing. And therefore we need to really make sure it's good, which is great, right? It's great for us. And so it was funny to see how much more seriously, like I think last year we did 2 rehearsals during knowledge. This year there were 6.
Even
I think somebody even mentioned the turnout this year. The turnout at CreatorCon was huge. I think there were like
huge.
6,000
I
6,000
think
people?
so. I don't remember the exact number, but
Were you able to see
I
them all
remember
from the
when.
stage?
Yeah, they always say that too. They're like, "Oh, don't worry if you have stage fright. You can't see it." Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It's a bold face line. You may not see their face, but you can see that there are people there. So don't listen to people when they say that. But I think what was just shocking was when we came out on stage, the applause and like the noise caught both Chuck and I so off guard. We're like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, woo! This is a big thing. So that was fun. Thank y'all for that.
Yeah, I mean the energy as well, right? So last year I was there as well, and the energy that one has to carry, to take the audience away. I mean, yourself and Chuck, uh, it's just amazing to see, how that happens. So, dancing and enjoying the show. So it's just great.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And with all the
Hard not to
photographs
get
of
sick
Chuck,
before.
oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say it's hard not to get sick before then or lose your voice. Cause like I'll be honest, I talk too much and I talk too loud. And so I there's always a point where I'm like, oh no, I'm losing my voice, and then I have to like take a bunch of throat lozenges.
Yeah. I was also listening to the podcast. I think Dhruv and Ashu had with Chuck regarding Knowledge 24. So, like Chuck did mention that last year he was high having he was high on medications, but this time around it was pretty smooth for him. So
Yeah,
uh, that's great as well, and he's doing all well. Watching us live right now.
I know. It's nice.
And
Right.
that reminds me another FOMO moment for you, probably, Shan. So sorry about that. But right after the keynote, most of the developer advocates and the the MVP, sorry, they all went onto the stage, got a really nice picture clicked. You would actually see Chuck lying right in front of all of us, and they're like weird faces being made by the MVPs. It was really fun. I think a lot of people got photos clicked there.
Oh
So
I
yeah.
I saw that.
I'm so sorry
Thank
again.
you. Oh my God.
You know what's really funny too is that from the like on our internal SharePoint, from they have like thousands of photos from Knowledge, and then they have a folder marked like favorites. Basically, like use these a lot next year to promo Knowledge, and that photo's in there. So I would expect
Oh,
to see that photo like used quite a bit next year or in the upcoming months. So it's pretty fun.
Nice.
oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
All right.
cute. It's pretty cool.
All right. So, anything else that would like to talk about, Neith, Lauren, before we start the closing?
I think I remember one more topic, and I think Mark has started talking about it already, which is Knowledge 2025.
Yeah.
So people are actually looking forward to most of the things that are going to happen over the next few months and obviously next year at Knowledge. I think he
Mhm.
also booked his tickets, if I'm not mistaken, or did he post a screenshot of what the prices for those flights are?
Yeah,
People are
maybe.
really excited.
Yeah.
I do know that the dates are set. I don't remember what they
Yeah.
are off the top of my
Six
head, but
to
it's
six to
never
eight.
too early to start thinking about it, because
Mm.
especially I definitely want to encourage listeners to think about submitting content for Knowledge. It earns you a free ticket. Like obviously, especially if you're an international like customer, getting to Knowledge is a huge cost, especially including that flight. So even if you can nix the cost of the conference, that's a huge means of like getting your business to send you. So I highly encourage you to keep an eye open for the call for content, both for CreatorCon, which will happen in November, December, and the larger Knowledge conference as well, which usually happens in January or February. So, but also in the meantime, the World Forums are coming up. So for those that
Yeah.
don't know, there is like a mini knowledge slash regional knowledge called World Forums. I linked I'll provide the link in the I guess in the show notes
Yep.
for this.
Actually,
Oh, you already
it's
put it.
only.
He's
Yeah.
already got it up. So scan that QR code. It'll take you to the website. Basically, I think it's 8 major cities in the United States and abroad are featuring a regional conference this year. They are phenomenal. I've been to them in the past. Selfishly, one's in my hometown of Dallas, so I will definitely be at the Dallas one. I think we might be attending others. It's not confirmed, but make some noise about social media. I'm kidding. Yeah, please send Lauren and Chuck and Earl and Brad. I'm kidding, but there's some great events: Melbourne, London, Munich, Tokyo, New
Yeah.
York, Rotterdam, Toronto, and Paris. So lots of spread on the map, thankfully.
Yeah, they should be great as well. I think, and this is the first time like we'll have a big event in Melbourne, Australia. So usually it's always Sydney. So
Oh,
yeah, I mean we do have
I
the
didn't
event in
realize that.
Australia, but for the APAC region, but yeah, it usually is Sydney. So this time is just going to be a whole, train down.
And so
to
selfishly, I like Melbourne better too. So don't tell Sydney that, but I love Melbourne. Love it. Love, love,
like
love.
likewise, it's always a fight.
Too fun. So yeah, keep an eye open for those on the website. You can't register yet. I assume registrations will open up, I think probably pretty soon, but you can basically check a box to get updates about it. So if there's a city nearby that you're interested in, check that box just so that you can get emails when they do come out. Usually they don't have a cap on numbers, but you don't want to be the person
Yeah.
that doesn't sign up and misses out. So yeah. Then those will be
Yeah.
in October, November.
Yeah, and the World Forums were free of cost last year, so I'm not sure how
Yes.
it happens this year around. Again, a good
I assume
opportunity to.
so.
Yeah, it was. Uh, like I remember, it was not having any cost attached to it, so that's also a good opportunity to go for the folks who are not getting any tickets sponsored from their employers. So, yeah.
And internally, there is, I don't know for which, like I was teasing earlier, but I know that there is a plan to send some of the really cool CreatorCon installations to some of these. I don't know if all. Unfortunately, we are still a very small team. But I know I think for London last year, they brought the
It was,
CreatorCon
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was a
Yeah, and
big
maybe
event.
Rotterdam, I think. I don't know. I
Yeah.
wasn't there, but I would keep an eye open for those and follow Chuck or I or Pranav or Earl on socials, and we'll definitely be talking about it more in the next couple of weeks. Yeah.
Nice.
And the first one is happening in London. So I was just looking at the schedule. For a minute, I thought London was not there, but it's right. I mean, the
First. Yeah.
first one on the world plan. So I think we'll have a session right after the World Forum ends. Ishan, probably we can try giving out some what do we call it?
Uh,
What happens during a climax of a movie? There's a word for that.
oh,
Damn, it's
oh shit.
what's it called? Giving an
Hint,
early preview of what's going to
tips.
happen.
Oh yeah, early preview. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
better word
So
for
probably
that.
we'll do a session for that.
Just not coming to
Trailer?
mind now. Yeah, trailer. Yeah, trailer or sneak peek.
Um,
Sneak peek is sneak peek is the isn't no.
Still a different word. I can't remember. So I mean,
Any,
then
anyways,
but
let's park it for
specifically a
now.
word for that. It's
We will.
giving somebody a sneak peek into what's really going to happen. You just tell them upfront, so there's
Oh,
no
like
element of surprise for them.
okay, like a session with one of the advocates or something, right?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll be there at the World Forum, so I'm more than happy to share all that I learned. So I always tend to keep a notebook with me with a pen, so I will make sure that I write down every single thing and then come back on the podcast and share it.
Nice.
That's
But
awesome. That's really helpful too.
I'm still in old school, still carrying a pen and a paper rather than writing everything on the phone.
Yeah, I usually like taking paper notes as well, but I've gotten into doing it on my iPad. But I still write them. I just use my Apple Pencil. I've gotten so addicted to my darn iPad. I use it for everything. It's so convenient.
I use my notes again, Apple Notes, like the on my phone. So
Yeah.
those are my go-to.
Another thing.
Yeah.
That's good.
Nice. All right. I think we are good. Don't have any much questions as well in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to have come. Thank you all for having me on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's been super, super fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for joining us, and we'll hopefully connect another maybe of a World Forum or something. Like we'll see.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Like I said, I
Mhm.
don't know if we're going to any of the international ones, but I can hope. I can
Sure.
hope.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Harneet.
Thank y'all.
Awesome.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
Thank you
day.
so
everyone.
much,
Speak soon.
Lauren. Thanks,
Bye.
Ishan. Thank
Bye.
you, everyone, for watching.